All right, thanks.
What thing?
You're the weakest link. Goodbye.
Hi, Nicole. Hi, Emily.
So are you guys getting used to the Zoom over the GoToMeeting, or?
We like Zoom a lot better.
So do I. Oh, my OMG. Gee.
Much easier.
Although sometimes I get confused on the view, you know, I find myself looking at this tiny little screen, like, what did I do wrong? So,
I know, I'm trying to fix mine right now. I can't figure.
you know, Diane, I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm not that technically savvy.
Oh, wait, I think I can do it. Oh, I got it.
If you have the single screen that you use when you minimize the big screens, when you point to it, there will be a little square in the bottom right corner. If you click on that, it'll open everything back up.
Gotcha.
Les, how do you know all of these things?
Because
He's a
I've made lots of mistakes.
He's a professional Zoomer.
Good educator.
Yeah. I think we're just waiting for our president to get organized here.
Sorry about that. Turns out there's a lot of paper in my office all of a sudden. I mean, there's always a lot of paper, but now it's been a little extraordinary. Are we ready to get started? Do we, who do we know on the call who can tell us if we have a quorum? Who's that?
Excuse me, this is Chelsea. We do have a quorum.
Okay, thanks, Chelsea. I see LaDon. It's nice to see you.
Hello, Brian. Good to see you too.
Thank you for being on the call today. So why don't we go ahead and open up our Greater Columbia Accountable Communities of Health Board meeting for the January 21, 2021. That's pretty fun. It's 12121. I just noticed it a little while ago.
And
So-
it is the 21st day of the 21st year in the 21st century.
I know, right? That's,
Isn't that crazy?
I got nothing. So you'd think it would be a better day, don't you? Okay, so one of the things we like to do when we do these meetings is we recognize that we have signed our attestations of our conflict of interest, and that we were careful to make sure that we don't engage in self-dealing transactions. And so as we operate today, we will make sure that we pay attention to that. I think the first thing that we want to do is before we jump into all the guest speakers, we like to do introductions. I don't know how that's much more difficult on the Zoom call, but maybe we can get some help. Maybe Chelsea, can you walk us down and maybe call off names who are here, and we can introduce ourselves that way? I don't know what you want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can walk through who's here from the board, then I'll do Greater Columbia, and then I'll do our guests. Does that work?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. So we have Brian. I see we have Julie with us, Julie Peterson. Or I thought I saw her.
She's probably going to get lunch.
Okay, I'll come back. If you want to say your name and maybe organization and sector you represent. So moving on, we have Madeline Carlson.
Good afternoon, Madeline Carlson with People for People, representing transportation.
Hey, Madeline.
We have Dan Ferguson.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Ferguson. I'm the director of the Allied Health Center of Excellence. I work for the community college system and their health workforce programs, and I represent workforce for the board.
Good, thank you.
We have Kate Mundell.
Unmuted. Hello, Kate Mundell. I'm the Director of Community and Provider Relations for Coordinated Care, so I represent the MCO sector.
Good, thank you.
We have Commissioner LaDawn Lindy.
Good afternoon, LaDawn Lindy, Yakima County Commissioner. Pleased to be part of this group. Ben Brian was my former boss, so good time.
Yep,
Great.
thanks, LaDon.
We have Les Stolniker.
Hi, Les Stolniker from Educational Service District 123 for education.
Very good.
Loanne Ayers.
Hi, I'm Loanne Ayers with United Way, representing the nonprofit sector.
Good to see you, Luann. Thank you.
Sue Grindle.
Susan Grindle with Kittitas County Health Network in the social determinant sector.
Very nice to see you, Susan.
And I think that's all we have from the board. Was there any other board members I missed?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
Julie.
Julie Peterson representing hospitals.
Julie.
Thanks, Julie. All right, I will move over to Greater Columbia. So there's myself, Chelsea. I'm the administrative assistant. Happy to be here. We have Carol Moser.
Carol Moser, Executive Director.
Wes Lucky.
Wes Lucky, Deputy Director.
Wes.
Sam.
Good afternoon, Sam Riddell, Director of Practice Transformation.
We have Diane.
It's Diane Halo with Project Management.
Lauren.
Lauren Noble, Marketing Manager for Greater Columbia GCACH.
Martine.
Martin Sanchez, Practice Transformation Navigator with Greater Columbia.
Laurel.
Hi, this is Laurel Avila, Practice Transformation Navigator with Greater Columbia.
Brittany.
Hi, Brittany Fox Dating, Practice Transformation Navigator with Greater Columbia.
Brisa. Brisa, I think you're on mute, but I know you're there. All right, and then Sula.
Maybe I should unmute myself. My name is Sulamita. I'm the Finance and Contracts Coordinator with Greater Columbia.
Great. So now that's all of Greater Columbia. So I'm going to move over to the guests. I'm just going to start at the top. I see we have Chris de Villeneuve.
Hey, this is Chris de Villeneuve, the Division Director for Catholic Charities serving Central Washington.
Let's see, and I saw Nicole from Field Group.
Hi, Nicole Donegan, owner of Field Group Marketing and Advertising.
Terrific. Emily McCann.
Hi, I'm Emily McCann, Signing Director with CLA.
I think I saw Delaney.
Yeah, Delaney Downard. I'm a Senior Associate with CLA.
Great. And then I saw Victoria.
Hello, Victoria with Ideal Option and Balance.
Thank you, Victoria. Is there anybody else I missed?
Very good. Thank you, Chelsea. Okay, I appreciate everybody going through that. It's always helpful to know who we are talking to, and sometimes more importantly, who we are talking in front of. I must share with our team today, I am grateful for the support that y'all have shown over the last couple of months. As many of you know, we have been extraordinarily focused and all consumed by some actions here at Astrea Health. Those actions have been fruitful, and so that's very, very good. But they did take a full 60 to 75 days of work. And I'm grateful for your support in carrying these meetings without me the last couple of months. I'll try to do much better and be available to these meetings. So thank you all for managing the meetings in my absence. So with that said, let's look at the board meeting minutes from the last month, and if they have been reviewed by the members, perhaps we can get a motion to approve them.
So Brian, very minor detail.
Yes, sir.
And I only noticed it because my name was near it. It said that I referenced DOH presentation. It's DOH materials for
Okay.
public announcements, public address. Anyway, I don't know what to call it, but it wasn't.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Wouldn't change anything.
We'll make the adjustment. It'll be fine.
And I'm ready to move to approve if anybody else.
Okay, thank you, Les. So moved by Les. We could use a second.
This is Madeline. I will second.
Thank you, Madeline. So it's been moved and approved moved and seconded that the minutes of the December 17th board meeting are approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Brian.
Yeah.
Before we go a little bit further, we were hoping that we could go ahead and do the CopeCom Care presentations so that our guests don't have to sit through our entire meeting, but that would be Nicole Donegan and Chris DeVilleneuve, who are going to talk a little bit about our CopeCom Cares campaign. Later on, we will be talking about how this ties into the Cambia donation, but if that would be okay, we will allow them to go into their presentation.
Actually, that's what I was going to do. I wanted to open the meeting, get the minutes, let you guys talk. So please knock yourselves out. Nicole, Chris, and Dr. Nelson.
How's everybody doing today?
Good, thank you.
Well, it looks like my name's at the top, Chris, so I'm going to jump ahead of you if that's okay. And I have a presentation to share. I kind of wanted to walk through the CopeCom Care campaign materials and talk a little bit about that. But Chelsea, are you the one sharing right now? I need somebody to allow me sharing. I can't share while somebody else is sharing.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Here, let me pull that up just a second. Or would you prefer to share either or?
I'll share it, but whoever's, I couldn't share while someone else was sharing. There we go. I think I can do it now. Everybody see that now?
Yep.
So in early December, we began working with GCACH on the CopeCom Care campaign. And we knew that it was going to be a bit of a challenge because the skills models are based on acronyms for Cope, Com, and Care. And we knew that there was going to be a bit of a challenge when we came to translating that into Spanish. And so we didn't want to focus the marketing materials specifically on that Cope, Com, and Care because we weren't sure how that was going to translate. In addition, after taking the training from Dr. Mosseth, we found that one thing that all three of these skills models had in common was each one of them started with taking a pause, stopping for a moment and thinking about how you want to change your thoughts, your actions, or your way of being. And so we started playing with the phrase pause, and we came up with the practice the pause. Fortunately, it did translate with some explanation to our Spanish language audience. And so we have Practice the Pause as our campaign and Practica la Pausa in Spanish. And I probably killed that. My accent is not great. So we began, and the first thing that we recognized was that there was a lot of work to do. Dr. Mosseth had done a wonderful job in creating the toolkits for the trainings. It was a little more of a challenge when we knew we were going to present these to the public, because unless you had taken the training directly, you really needed kind of some introduction to the different pieces. And we also wanted them visibly to be presentable. Somebody could pick them up and know what to do with them at that point. So we recommended toolkits for the different age groups that were identified, which is ages 5 to 12, 13 through 18, and then a toolkit for adults. And these would live on the landing page. And so we took the materials that Dr. Mosseth had created and we created these toolkits. So they are resources that are available on the Practice the Pause landing page, which can be downloaded and shared, downloaded and used. And then we additionally created the marketing materials to push people to the landing page. One thing we recognized in the previous campaign, the resilience campaign, was that it's really hard to educate on these complicated topics if we try to put too much information out. And so we knew this was some complicated topics. We wanted to try to use the landing page as our key learning tool and just push people basically to understand the basic concept and then go to the landing page to learn more. So these are all of the materials that have been created to date. We're in the process right now of updating the landing page, but I'm kind of walk through some of the tools to just kind of show them to you. Again, we started with the landing pages. Currently, the practicethepause.org and Practica La Pausa have been purchased. This is one page, but the way that the software works is it identifies the preferred language of the visitor, whether it's English or Spanish, and that is the side of the page that will show up, whether it's going to show the Spanish language and Spanish graphics, or whether it's going to show the English language and English graphics. Right now, we are working on the Spanish language translations. So currently, we're only seeing the English side and some of the Spanish translations, but we really haven't pushed the Spanish language media out entirely yet because we knew we were going to be a little longer on translations. So the 2 pages, however, are currently, the Practice the Pause is up and running, and Practica La Pausa, probably by end of day today or tomorrow, will have all of the graphics updated as well.
Okay.
So we started with the toolkits for youth. And so we made these to be toolkits that could actually be put directly into the hands of children. They were things to help them identify their feelings, identify their emotions. We had to simplify them to that age range to help them understand. We had to make it a little less complicated and just get to the point of identifying emotions, because in that age group, it's really hard to get to the other place of trying to analyze what's causing them and everything else. But we just wanted them to understand their emotions and change what they were thinking, how they were acting, or how they were being. And so for this particular toolkit, we also created stickers. The stickers were made in templates so that if somebody does want to download them from online, they can print them themselves. So it's a readily accessible template. But we did have 5,000 of them printed to put out with the first round of toolkits. This is actually, we were hoping it would be here today. It looks like delivery will be in the next couple of days. It's taken a little longer. Thank you, COVID, for how long it takes us to receive things right now. But we do have 5,000 of these toolkits, 2,500 in English, 2,500 in Spanish, that Catholic Charities is going to be using with their trainings and sharing with their trainings. Again, you can see on the back page of this, there's a calendar so they can identify when they felt different ways, how they've changed their feelings and identified. So we're really excited about this toolkit. And then this particular theme was carried throughout all of the youth toolkits. The document here on the left is a handbook for parents. It has tips on how they can use these skills, the skills training, to incorporate it into the daily lives of their kids, teaching their kids how to do a bubble breath, how to pretend like they're going to blow out the candles on a birthday cake and then relax, teaching kids how to roll up like a bug and the progressive muscle activity where they scrunch up like a bug and then release all of that tension. So it's got all of these tools that kids can understand, but parents can work with them on using. And then in the classroom and in the schools, we have posters and flyers, the posters being up on the top to post in the classrooms and in the hallways, and then the flyers down below, which can be sent home to parents, which can also be printed because they're an 8.5 by 11 to supplement the larger posters in different areas throughout schools or other areas where kids can congregate. It was a really cute booklet for ages 5 through 12, but when we entered into the 13 to 18-year-olds, we knew it had to look a little different. We knew it had to have a slightly different tone. And this is where we're moving beyond just identifying your emotions, but taking it to the next level and being able to really identify why you're feeling that way and getting more active in how you're taking control of your own emotional health. And so we've had these created in both English and Spanish. The 13 to 18-year-old toolkit is more of a journal. And we do identify, there's lots of journaling apps out there. So the tool that we recommend in the journal is an emotional writing exercise to get them in the habit of, and that's a timed exercise over a course of 2 weeks, to get them really used to writing down their emotions. And then the resource page on the Practice Your Pause has downloads of several different apps that they can do to continue this work on their own, where they're probably more likely to use it when they're using their phone and using the applications. Additionally, similar to how we adapted the youth toolkits, we created a handbook for parents so that they know how to work with their students in the teenage years. Tips, students can look at these as well, but mostly these were geared towards the parents and how to have these conversations, how to help them get through their difficult times. Again, we created posters that will be posted in the schools. They'll be given to the schools to post to remember to stop, think about what you're feeling, and make a change to either change how you think, act, or be. Flyers, again, for distribution to parents or to supplement the larger posters. Then we move to yet another age range, which is another audience. So we changed the booklet for the adults. The benefit of this toolkit is that it allows us to, this activity book is again a journal, but it does go through a lot of the information that they would learn in the trainings, so that if for some reason they don't have access to the trainings, this still talks about what COVID's role is. It talks about how this follows through. It actually uses a lot of the information that's available on the landing page, but it puts it into a toolkit that they can actually, a concrete toolkit that you can introduce the topic through and walk through. We see this being used with behavioral health specialists, being able to sit down with folks and be able to walk through this, give it to them for contemplation to think through, and then maybe even encourage them to take the training themselves. To support these activities, so the toolkits have all of these different tools, including all of the graphics that were created for these toolkits or for these activity books were included in the online toolkits so that teachers can download them and put them into their newsletters and support these activities. They can be posted on social media. There's a lot of different ways that these tools can be used, and we're hoping that they will be actively used by the individuals who take the training and who really want to push this information out. We're moving now into some of the other tools. These are also in the toolkits. These are the videos. I do have the longer version of the videos. I don't want to take too much time, but I thought these were the best representation of the campaign themselves. So in the video form, I'm going to just play the English and the Spanish. These are living right now on YouTube and will be in the toolkits. We have a 30-second version of each of these, which I actually saw on TV last night. I stopped, I was all excited. And so I'll just go ahead and play them for you.
¿Y qué tal si te dijera que lo que sientes ahora es normal y que todos lo estamos sintiendo? Cansado, frustrado, enojado y distraído. No importa si tienes 8, 18 u 80 años. Has perdido algo durante la pandemia y este trauma está afectando todo lo que haces. Estas son reacciones normales ante una situación anormal. No podemos controlar la pandemia, pero sí podemos controlar cómo reaccionamos. Empieza por hacer una pausa. Una pausa te da tiempo para reflexionar sobre lo que estás sintiendo y por qué. Te permite escoger lo que quieres pensar, hacer y ser. Practica hacer una pausa. Enfócate en lo positivo. Haz algo saludable que te guste y vive en el momento. Toma tiempo y práctica, pero hacer una pausa te da el poder de controlar tus emociones y mejorar tu vida. Aprende cómo controlarte, calmarte y cuidarte en practicalapausa.org.
And here's the English version.
What if I told you that what you're feeling right now is normal and we're all feeling it together? Tired, frustrated, angry, distracted. Whether you're 8, 18, or 80, you've lost something to this pandemic, and that trauma is affecting everything you do. These are normal reactions to an abnormal situation. We can't control the pandemic, but we can control how we react to it. Start by taking a pause. A pause gives you time to think about what you're feeling and why, and allows you to choose how you want to think, act, or be. Practice positivity. Focus on the positive. Adopt a healthy behavior. Celebrate living in the moment. It takes practice, but taking a pause gives you the power to control your emotions and improve your life. Learn skills to cope, calm, and care for yourself at practicethepause.org.
That's good. Thank you.
So in addition to the TV, see if I can get it to go.
¿Y qué tal si te dijera que lo que sientes ahora es normal?
We also had radio spots. I don't know that I need to play those. It's the 30-second version. Would you like to hear those? Or do we kind of get the idea from, I don't want to take too much time.
Sorry, you can go forward.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play the Spanish.
No importa si tienes 8, 18 u 80, perdiste algo durante la pandemia y estás cansado, distraído, enojado. Estas son reacciones normales ante una situación anormal. No podemos controlar la pandemia, solo cómo reaccionamos. Haz una pausa. Reconoce lo que sientes y escoge lo que quieres pensar, hacer o ser. Enfócate en lo positivo, celebra el momento, practica la pausa. Más información en practicalapausa.org.
And then the English, again, the 30.
Whether you're 8, 18, or 80, you've lost something to this pandemic, and that may leave you tired, distracted, angry. These are normal reactions to an abnormal situation. We can't control the pandemic, only our reaction to it. Take a moment, pause. Recognize your feelings and choose how you want to think, act, or be. Focus on the positive. Adopt healthy behaviors. Celebrate the moment. Practice positivity. Learn how at practicethepause.org.
Very good.
So you can see in the list below where we have these currently running. We do have a lot of Lewiston radio because the television is really hard to get to show. We do have TV in the Lewiston area. Coming up from CBS and down through Spokane. So the TV stations we were able to purchase, but there were a lot of smaller stations there on the in that eastern side. So we did get a lot of those little local stations to try to get a lot of the involvement from that level. We also have digital advertising that's running in that market. Any questions? You'll notice on the bottom we have streaming TV. So that's another thing that will actually help with the eastern side where people are using Sling, Hulu, Roku, the streaming devices, because these will actually are actually placed on those devices as well.
Whether
sorry,
8,
this is
18,
gonna.
or 80, you've lost something.
There we go. We also have a number of billboards which are in the process, should be placed this week in both English and Spanish. I just put the English on this page, but we do have them in both. We currently have 27 billboards, 16 of them in Yakima, 1 in Terrace Heights, 3 in Wapato, 3 in Toppenish, 1 in Sunnyside, and 3 in Tri-Cities. And so with additional budget, we would look at whether there's additional locations that we may be missing that we may want to look at down the road.
Okay.
Print media, we're only doing in Spanish at this point in time, other than 2 Cities, which we're doing in dual language. This audience is traditionally hard to reach. And we do find that there's a lot of good following in the local newspapers. So we are using 2 Cities, El Sol, and La Voz, which offers us a good coverage throughout the area in Spanish language media. And we're doing media tools in both English and Spanish on digital and social media. And so I believe I counted it throughout our social media ads, we have 16 different sizes of each ad. So that everything from mobile to every headline. And so you'll probably see this in a lot of different areas. And then just, I guess, a little more information there. So the one thing about all of the materials that I've showed you so far that we've created is that at this point, that cost has been a total of $0 to GCACH due to the donation from Yakima Health District. They covered the cost of the creation of all of the materials. So all of the development of the marketing materials has been covered by the YHD donation. And the only thing that GCACH is covering is the printing costs for getting these into the hands of the partners. So we're excited. It's been a very exciting campaign. I talked to some folks from NAMI this morning on an unrelated call, and they're excited to share with their members. And it's been just really enlightening for us to be involved in. So we appreciate the opportunity. Carol, anything I missed that I should share?
I think, Nicole, you did a great job of presenting the campaign. I saw the TV ad last night here locally, and I was very excited as well. I do think it's important, though. We're really appreciative of Yakima Health District in covering the development costs of the marketing campaign. However, Greater Columbia is covering the costs of the media. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And
then
Diane, did you want to mention anything?
I was just gonna say it's like a proud child. I'm so excited. Phil Group has done an amazing job. I cannot stress how grateful I am. They have conveyed everything that we took to them and the material that we provided from Dr. Maseth, and they have just run with it, and they have the campaign is just developed into a wonderful material. And I love this PowerPoint. Thank you so much for doing it, because now when we're going forward and we're presenting this to other groups, this is perfect. Thank you so much. And so the next thing I just want to talk about is that, you know, the key part about this, the success of this campaign is really the training of this. And so we actually wanted to partner with Catholic Charities to help us do this, the training for this. And so I'm going to go ahead and let them talk to you guys about that.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, this is Christy Villeneuve. Hopefully Dr. Robbie Nelson will be able to join me. Dr. Robbie Nelson is a neuropsychologist, one of only 35 in the state of Washington. She is by far one of the best people to be taking this on and leading this. We took an early adopter model, and as we looked at how we can support the work that was coming out from Field Group, we worked with them on the material, had a lot of opportunities to really talk about the material and how it's going to be used. So one of the things that we had specifically talked about was getting this material out to schools. And the reason for that is that the schools really are that opportunity to engage with children and family and parents. And we have an opportunity to really develop some early adopters. So starting in the late fall, we started talking to the schools and had mentioned there's this model coming out from GCACH, which we're super excited about. We started talking to them about Cope Common Care. We did some pilot work with the Catholic schools in the diocese. So we met with 5 different Catholic schools to kind of do laying some groundwork in developing some early adopters. Out of that, we built our team that would work with Dr. Robbie Nelson and would start reaching out to ESDs. So ESD 105, ESD 123, other ESDs in local school districts in order to start getting this in front of counselors, to start getting this in front of teachers. Our goal really now over the next 3 months is to really get some penetration into the community. So our goal is to partner with other community providers, have them provide the training, and also for us to do support of the training and reach out to individual teachers and school districts and counselors and administrators in order to get some additional traction. We have had great response. The counselors we've met with, the advisors and administrators have been really excited about this. We've seen it used in some of the schools and by teachers who have done some of the practice the pause exercises with their students and talked about, you know, the potential impact. So we're going to start ramping up the trainings with all the school districts and schools across Greater Columbia so that we can get this out as much as possible. We'll work with other community providers in order for them to do the training as well. We're excited because we think that this has such a great potential to really impact community resilience. And I just want to compliment the Field Group for the work that they've done. This is an amazing project, and we think that it's really going to have a great opportunity to work with all the people in the region.
Good, thank you. Okay. Questions? Who has, they're great. I mean, it's kind of silly. It's kind of like being a kid. Show and tell is always good.
Right?
Yeah. It's kind of cool. So thank you very much. Do we have questions for Chris or Nicole?
So before you make a comment, LaDon, I just wanted to make a comment that it's not a small feat of this training. We have 288 schools in our 9-county region with over 150,000 students. That's a lot of training that needs to happen in the next few months. And I am so thankful that we're partnering with Catholic Charities, because they are also going to partner with some of our other behavioral health partners to be able to get this information into these smaller communities as well as the larger, Yakima and the Tri-Cities areas. Those are the two big areas, but they're, this is not a small feat, that is for sure.
Okay. Good. Go ahead, LaDon.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at this. It looks like a very good effort. It looks comprehensive in its approach. I just pulled up the website on my phone while we're doing this, and it seems to be laid out very well, and certainly something we need, because it's not just the health or the physical effects of COVID that people are concerned with. It goes much deeper and broader than that. What do you have a feel for? The time frame of the campaign and the cost when it's all completed? Any feel for what that's going to look like?
So, LaDon, we'll go into that more detail as we have a thing, but it's a 3-month campaign for the media portion. We're hoping to be able to extend that longer if we can get some other funding for it. But the media portion is a pretty hefty cost for us to do a campaign like this. So if we can, maybe we can get some of the other health districts on board and help with maybe some of because they have a lot of CARES funding, so maybe we can market this and try to get a little bit more funding to be able to continue it maybe into June. And so that is an idea. And then also, the training portion, we can continue this, and the materials will live on our website. I mean, we can continue the training into the next year, next school year, and all that as well. But I'm hoping, and when we get down further into the agenda, we'll talk about we have some other funding that we're going to try to put towards this. So that's our goal, is that we're hoping to extend it out further, but for now it's just a 3-month campaign.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, good looking campaign.
It's great. What other questions for these folks?
Yeah, this is Kate Mundell from Coordinated Care. I think as you start to identify additional markets and audiences for the campaign, I would just offer up, with Coordinated Care being the sole source for foster care, if there's anything that we can do to help target materials out to that group, just let me know. Happy to help support that effort.
Yeah, we definitely can provide these toolkits. Definitely could do that. So yeah, we can talk about it offline.
Great.
Okay. Very good. Thank you all. It's very, very good campaign, very good presentation. Thanks so much. Carol, are we ready to move on a little bit?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so the next thing we've got under the consent agenda, thank you guys for letting me go out of line a little bit doing the meeting minutes. The next thing you got is the officer elections.
We kind of, I apologize, Mr. President, we kind of missed the boat in December, and I have these officer elections. I sent out, I noticed, I sent out a notice yesterday that we probably should have done this in December, and we're really hoping that all of our officers stay with you being president. I know that Sandra Suarez had some concerns about remaining as vice president. So rather than take action today, unless we're ready, which would be wonderful, it probably is just more of a discussion on how we want to move forward with officer elections. And we're hoping that Julie stays on as our treasurer.
Yeah. Okay.
Madeline is secretary.
however you want to do it. If we want to do an offline conversation and bring it back to the board next month, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do. I am happy to stay in my role, and I would echo your, having been the treasurer for a little while, I would certainly echo your sentiments regarding Julie. I think it's much better.
Happy to continue in the role.
Yay, thank you very, very much. Madeline, do you have, not to put you on a spot? Perhaps you can stay.
Yes, and I'm willing to remain on as secretary.
Okay. Well, why don't we just go ahead and do this? And Sandra, I understand you've got some probably other engagements. Maybe we can come back to you later. Maybe we can talk with you separately, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I just, I wanted to be just open and honest. I have some expanding job responsibilities that kind of put a little bit of a crunch between meeting times, and I want to be honest about my ability to serve as a backup in case you have another priority. I'm probably going to start running later to meetings, unfortunately.
Okay.
Whereas in the past, I've been able to jump on early and, here to help however needed. So if someone wanted the opportunity, I wouldn't want to stand in the way with that, knowing that I'm probably not going to be, I may or may not be the best candidate going forward for the foreseeable future.
I understand. There seems to be a lot of that going around in some of these organizations, not the least of which is mine. So I'm grateful for your support of my stuff. And but yes, we can kind of, if you want to, we can table that component, Carol, and maybe we can just move on the first three.
All right, that sounds like a good idea.
Back on the fourth, if that works out.
So is that a motion?
Yeah, I mean, if I can make the motion, I'd be happy to motion, move that we accept the current slate of the three candidates for president, treasurer, and secretary.
This is Loanne. I second that motion.
Very good. Thank you, Loanne. So all of those in favor of advancing the current slate, please let us know by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, so that motion carries. Thank you very much. And then we'll just,
your service.
of course, we're happy to do it, and we'll just we'll loop back around, and we'll figure out what to do with the vice chair position, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, thank you. So the next thing we've got are the ACH reports and updates. The annual report is staff. Is that correct?
It is, Brian. I'm actually going to ask again if we can go out of order and allow our audit firm, our CLA, to do their presentation so that they can get on with their daily business. So that would be Emily McCann and Delaney that would be making those presentations of our audit findings.
That will be fine. We keep kind of tripping over our agenda, though.
I know. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm fine with it. I really am fine with it. So financial statements with, is it CCL?
CLA, yes.
CLA. I wasn't even close. Okay.
Would I be able to share my screen and I'll just go through my PowerPoint if that's okay?
Absolutely. Let me stop sharing mine and then you should be able to share yours now.
Okay, perfect. Let me see if I can get it going here. Oops. Okay, there we go.
There you go. That looks like it wants to work.
Yes.
Good.
I'm just gonna change my display settings real quick. All right. Well, thank you everyone for having us here today. My name is Emily McCann and I'm a signing director based out of our Tri-Cities office, and I specialize in serving nonprofit organizations, and I'm the main point contact for the audit and tax and other services that CLA provides to Greater Columbia. And then I also have Delaney Downard on the line. She's the senior on the audit engagement in charge and responsible for the day-to-day completion of the audit. So today I briefly wanted to go through the report on the financial statements, the letter to governance, and the internal control communication letter with you all. We previously went over this information with the finance committee and with Carol and Sula as well. So the results of our professional services, under generally accepted auditing standard, our responsibility is to express an opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements in conformity with GAAP. And we really utilized a risk-based audit approach, and we reviewed and evaluated the organization's internal controls, and based off of that information, planned our audit accordingly. And based off of the audit procedures that we did perform, the results were an unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest opinion that you can receive. And it basically states that your financial statements as presented in the documents that you were provided are free of material misstatements.
Good.
For our audit procedures, we are required to communicate certain items to governance. The first one is in regards to significant accounting policies, which are outlined in note 1 of the financial statements. The biggest change to the organization for 2019 was the adoption of a new accounting policy in regards to contributions received. And I'll talk a bit about that in a later slide. Included in the financial statements are significant accounting estimates, and that includes the functional allocation of expenses and the useful lives of fixed assets. All the new disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear in the financial statements. And at the finalization of the audit, management has signed a representation letter, which is attached to our governance communication, asserting certain representations they made to us. The completion of the audit was rescheduled based off of our initial plan. Attached to the governance communication is a listing of corrected misstatements. There were no disagreements with management in regards to accounting, reporting, or other matters. We're not aware of any consultations with any other independent auditors, and anything that we discussed with management prior to our professional relationship occurred in the normal course of business. And we reported a separate letter on our findings and internal control deficiencies.
Good.
For our internal control matters, I'm going to go through that briefly now. We issued a separate letter, and it's basically broken out into 3 different sections. The first one is a material weakness. The organization did receive a material weakness due to a material misstatement for the Washington Funds Executor Portal. During our audit procedures, we did identify that the portal cash, revenue, and expenses were not being reported properly, and our recommendation to management is to perform at least an annual reconciliation process, and that reconciliation be reviewed and approved by someone independent of that. I know Carol and her team already have a plan in action to correct this going forward, and all of the financial statements that Greater Columbia has, I've sat with Sula and verified that those adjustments have been made in the accounting software.
Good.
There were no significant deficiencies identified. And then we also communicated a few other matters to management and kind of looped in this letter for you all. The first one is in regards to financial reporting, making sure that all adjusting manual journal entries get posted to QuickBooks after they've been approved. The general ledger debits and credits for the accounts were, on some of them were some were incorrect. I know Carol is working on correcting that, or they've already corrected that. The third comment here is on the statement of functional expense methodology. Currently, there is no written policy or methodology to allocate functional expenses across program management and fundraising. I've talked to Carol about a few different ways to accomplish that, and I know that she is in the process of correcting and coming up with a plan of action. The last one is a recommendation to perform an annual net asset reconciliation, and that reconciliation be reviewed and approved by an independent person. Any questions?
I would just mention that the Finance Committee did go through this with the auditors and with Carol and Solomita, and we're very confident, I think, in the plan that they have to address this. So,
Thank you, Julie.
This next slide, I did want to talk about briefly the adoption of ASU 2018-08 for the change in the accounting guidance on contributions received. This guidance now elaborates on how to distinguish between an exchange and non-exchange transaction, and it gives some criteria to help determine if a contribution is conditional or not conditional. So is there a barrier to overcome and a right of return? So based off of the adoption of this standard, there was a beginning balance change to net assets, which you'll see on the statement of activities. Let's see, right. So you can see here, there's a separate line item to show the impact of the adoption of that new accounting standard. It was about 5.4 million, and the reason for this change was to be in compliance with accrual accounting. The FASB really tried to determine ways to differentiate between exchange and non-exchange transactions, and previously any commensurate value to resource providers, whether that be to a specified third party or the general public, was an exchange transaction. And now that general public piece is considered a non-exchange transaction. Like I said, I've sat with Sulamita and gone through and made sure the financials in QBO have been updated and everything has been recorded. So your financials should be updated for this new adjustment. Any questions on this standard? Okay.
Good.
I'm just going to go briefly over the financials.
Okay.
Total assets ended at 34.5 million, a bulk of that being the funds held by the financial executor. Total liabilities ended up at 4 million and net assets at 30 million. Total revenue was 18.7, and total expenses ended up at 19 million. And for the functional expense breakout, you'll see a large portion of your expenses are program related, and an increase over the prior year. A lot of that has to do with the distributions to partner organizations. And then I worked with the accounting team to come up with an allocation methodology for this year to allocate some of the expenses like depreciation. And so you'll probably see that there's a little bit of change on the program percentage over the prior year, if you were to compare them. And that's all that I had for you all today. Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure working with Carol and Sula and everyone at GCACH, Greater Columbia. So thank you very much. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Good, Emily. Thank you.
I think we probably do need to accept or adopt the financial statements. And certainly I would, on behalf of the Finance Committee, recommend the adoption or acceptance of the financials.
Excellent. Thank you, Julie. Can we have a second?
This is Sandra, I'll second.
Very good. So it's been moved by Julie and seconded by Sandra that we accept the audited financial statements for, is that 2020?
2019.
2019. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions that we might ask Emily? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approval of these 2019 audited financial statements, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? I appreciate that. Thank you. Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you, Emily. These are great. And I had the pleasure of going through them with you on the Finance Committee too. They're very, very good. And it's super that we've got folks who can understand all of the ins and outs. I actually remember what FASB means, but it was a long time ago.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today, and have a good day.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Miss Carol, where'd you like me to go?
Okay, now we can go back to the annual report.
Okay. Well, let's do that.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thanks.
So we explained, we took sections of this at the Leadership Council meeting. So I would just suggest that we do the same thing. And I think Lauren kind of kicked it off since she's the one that puts it all together.
Okay, great. Thanks. Lauren, would you like to jump in?
Yep, I'll start us off. Can everyone hear me okay? I have headphones in, so I want to make sure you can hear me. Okay, Carol's giving me the thumbs up. So if you all recall last year, our annual report, the 2019 annual report, was a double-sided trifold. The purpose of that format was we wanted to make sure it was really easy to mail out. With this version, with the 2020 annual report, we didn't think we would be mailing them out as much. Instead of mailing them out, we think we can distribute them more electronically. And so we have a little bit different of a format. Now, if we need to print it down the road, we can definitely do that. It's a little bit longer, but we still can definitely print it. It's 8 pages. So that's the reasoning behind the change in format. We included lots of pictures from 2020. So we have Carol at the Yakima Nation Tribal School. We have pictures of our PPE distribution. I'll talk about this later, but we distributed a lot of PPE this year, which is really exciting. We have some photos from our masking communications campaign, and then we have Master Gardeners on our front page as well. They gave us some donations for our skilled nursing facility project. So that's the cover page. And then the next page, we dedicated to just talking about how in 2020 we addressed COVID-19. A lot of our work, as you all know, kind of shifted a little bit to see how we could best support the community during COVID-19 and the pandemic. So you're all really familiar with a lot of this work, so I'll just kind of go through this really quickly. But we included information about the telehealth fund and how we provided $276,000 to organizations, 51 organizations, to implement telehealth. PPE, we talked about, joining that distribution effort. We distributed 2 million items of PPE, which is really awesome. That's a really big number, to more than 100 organizations across the Greater Columbia region. So really exciting to join that effort. Assisted living facility project, we included some verbiage in here around that project. We partnered with the America Credit Union to host the radiothon and telethon for residents of Benton and Franklin County living in those assisted facility environments. And so we raised $14,000. That was really successful. This project, as well as the skilled nursing facility project, really just provided those themed care packages and the HEROES program for those facilities. The only difference between the skilled nursing facility project is really that Greater Columbia ACH provided the funding for that project, and that affected all of the 9 counties versus assisted living facility project. The money raised was just for Benton and Franklin County. COVID-19 test site marketing, this is our most recent effort. We partnered with Benton Franklin Health District and several other local organizations to stand up the test site and provide that marketing. So that campaign was very successful. We're excited to share those metrics at our meeting next month in February. But the first day, there were 83 tests administered, and by the end of our campaign, over 700 tests were administered. So that need was definitely met in our community, which is exciting. And then Second Harvest funding, we donated $300,000 to Second Harvest to benefit 96 food banks across the Greater Columbia ACH region.
Sam, did you want to talk about this page?
Yes, I do. So Greater Columbia CARES model is a model that we actually created because it's not a one-size-fits-all that goes into these clinics and practice transformation. So we took a abundance of different initiatives, mainly around the Comprehensive Primary Care Initiative that was through CMS Services, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, 6 building blocks, PCMH model at the AHRQ, the IHI. So all of these different models or evidence-based models is what we use to actually implement these processes within these practice transformation clinics. And so we've seen great success that it's not a one-size-fits-all model. So definitely we are hearing this terminology quite often now of implementing the Greater Columbia CARES model as opposed to PCMH, which was really a more of a worry for implementation because they saw that it was a lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of time invested. And so we're seeing a huge success in our practices with this model that fits for each one of these different entities.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Good.
Of course, the proof is in the pudding when you take a look at how we're distributing the funding. So this funding, the 36.8 million represents funding distributed since 2018 to our practice transformation sites, some of our community health initiatives like the Resiliency Fund. But this page really talks about the funding that has been distributed. So you can see all the different provider types that are receiving the incentive funding, from hospital and clinics to public health, funding for technology, the tribes, community-based organizations, and then Greater Columbia ACH takes out funding out of the district to support management and operations. Actually, just management.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 79 different sites that we provide services to. In addition, we have a grant with the Washington Rural Health Collaborative that is earning us a bit of money. Our practice transformation team goes out to 6 different sites. They have a scaled down GCCM version, and they get to choose the kind of measures that they want to concentrate on. But we started with 11 and we're down to 6 now.
Okay.
Martine, did you want to talk to this, or Laurel?
Sorry, I'm trying to get myself off of mute. Let me see. These have just been, Tri-State, that's one of my sites that I have been working with. They are in the 3rd cohort, so they just finished their first year going into the 2nd year. And they've done a lot in the first year of implementation of the GCCM model. They've been able to integrate behavioral health into primary into behavioral health in their hospital. They have a social worker that's, they're doing experts in their screenings in the ED. They're providing referrals. They entered a collaborative agreement with CHAS, the dental clinic in Clarkston, and with QBH, Quality Behavioral Health, so that when somebody presents to the ED with a dental problem, they're right away they're able to generate a referral and send it off to chat so that they can start services there. Or if they notice somebody, hey, this person really needs behavioral health, they can either refer them in-house to their own behavioral health clinic, or they can refer them over to Quality Behavioral Health, given if they need any other needs, housing, help getting their GED. QBH has a lot of programs and resources available. So that's a good collaboration that they're doing there. And then if you see down here at the right-hand bottom corner, that's a picture of me with, and there's part of a cat that they have a Blue Mountain Counseling as part of their team. But that's Demita, and then two of their clinicians there. We're having a practice transformation meeting. And it was just, when we used to go out, we used to take pictures with the teams just because everybody's so unique and they're set up in their own, ways, and they interact differently. So, I mean, it's just nice having, these pictures of, hey, this is the work that we've done and this is some of the people that we meet with. I know Chaplaincy Healthcare, I started working with them, but Laurel took over that site. So I'll let Laurel speak to Chaplaincy.
So Chaplaincy Behavioral Health has been doing some great work in regards to practice transformation. They are a cohort 3 site, and have been working very well towards achieving a lot of the milestones that we set up with them within the Greater Columbia Cares model. They are now providing care. They have risk stratifications of their clients, and they've grouped them from highest to lowest risk. And now they provide care management to all, or 100% of the patients in the highest risk stratum. They have clinical quality measures that they've identified and are tracking. They're monitoring them to look for improvement and sharing that information back to their clinicians. So they're just doing a great job, and it's a pleasure to work with them.
For the behavioral health, as you guys know, we put forth that $850,000 for the behavioral health internship scholarship. And hopefully this year, we had 19 organizations that we supported that had 42 internships that were supported through this funding. Hopefully, in the middle of the year, we'll have an update from the providers as they turn in their final report for this project. For the opioid resource networks, we had the 4 opioid resource networks. Between all 4 of them, they had 322 new inductions and 200 patients that had remained in treatment for 30 to 90 days. And I'll talk about this as well. So our local health improvement networks, they were given 1.5 million that was distributed across the region to address the social determinants of health, and that addressed housing, food insecurity, behavioral health, youth suicide, employment, access to the internet, and education. And you can see there's a picture of a van that was purchased. And then we also did the pilot for the Build Community Resilience campaign for the adverse childhood experiences. And this campaign had nearly over 5,000 individuals that visited the website. And in English, we had over 6,000 times it was visited. And in Spanish, it was visited over 3,000 times. But unfortunately, as we know, COVID happened. And so things kind of took a little bit of a detour for this campaign. And now we have the new community resilience campaign for 2021.
So within the last year, the Healthcare Authority had provided us data to show how we had performed on pay for performance through the first round or first year, which was the time period ending 2019. So they took the baseline 2017, provided a performance target, and then measured our performance 2 years later across these measures. As you can see, these include access to care, institutional utilization, behavioral health, substance use disorder, and more. We took that information and through a bit of a complicated equation, assessed our own performance overall and determined that we achieved around 55% of pay for performance incentive dollars, which will be paid out in the spring of this year. And that might sound like a low number, but we originally budgeted 25%. So we think that practice transformation is having an effect on our partnering organizations for those measures that are directly and indirectly affected through our efforts.
And this is my part. So as you know, we have 17 different sectors across our board of directors. Thank you, board, for serving for us. And then in addition to our different sectors we put on our annual report all the different kind of meetings we've had and the different type of attendees that we've had attend through healthcare providers, consumers, public safety, different businesses. So convening has been really an important aspect over the past year, and being able to bring all these different professionals together for that cross-pollination has been great in guiding our work.
Thank you, Chelsea. So I think the idea, and Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, this is still in draft form so that if the board of directors had additional information or suggestions to improve the annual report for 2020, we would happily take those. We've already made a couple of changes, some little graphic errors here or grammar errors here and there, but if you would like to weigh in on the way that it looks or feels or something that we're missing that you think should be included. This annual report did not include a letter from the executive director. Last year's did. So let us know if you want to make any changes before we go to final print.
Hey, I think it looks great. I like it. Anybody have any other thoughts that we might want to present as to changing the structure of this document? Okay. Well, Carol, I think that it sounds like you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep. You bet. Thank you very much. Next item you've got on your agenda today is Wes managing or presenting out our work plan for 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wes, holy cow. That's a lot of stuff, man.
Could you pull it up, Chelsea, because I'm not seeing it. There we go. Yes, this is a busy diagram that many of you have seen before. This is kind of a high-level overview of all the project areas that we are dedicating our time to this year. As you know, we're a crew of less than 12 people, so this is a lot of work to undertake, and everybody is really immensely busy in different project areas. What I'm going to do is something similar to what we did during the Leadership Council. I'm going to call on people who are on this call and ask them to talk about different sections. So I'm going to start with Diane. Do you want to talk a little bit about the learning collaboratives for this year?
Sure. Chelsea, can you just pull, I don't know if you have it, but can you pull up that document we did for the, so Sam and I have put together a learning learning collaboratives for the full year. That way we can make sure that we hit all the mandatory reporting requirements that are needed for all of the providers. And so we have put together a schedule for the full year. There are a couple months that are no learning collaboratives, which I think is just December, and maybe June. I can't remember. And then yeah, the awards banquet in October. So, but for the most of them, we've planned them out. One of the main things that we are focusing this year is having our providers learn from each other. So we're really focusing on utilizing that, and we hope that that will help the providers continue to have the collaboration as we're moving forward into the sustainability of this. So that's for and this schedule we can send out to everybody so that everybody has that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Diane, and I might have brought this up when you were talking about the behavioral health internship. So can I assume, and we might want to talk about this in the workforce committee as well, but can I assume that one of the learning collaboratives might be spent, time might be spent talking about lessons learned from all those organizations that have interns?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Dan, and we'll talk about it in the workforce committee, but I also I'm thinking more of a leadership council and not a learning collaborative. So we have openings for some leadership councils, and so I do want to bring that up. And maybe we combine the behavioral health. We talk about the behavioral health, and then for the second half, we talk about the new internship that we're going to be having. So maybe we transition into the other one. But I think that maybe the lessons learned from this, internship program and what can be learned from this one and what we would move into the next one. But I think that so far from my understanding that it's been very successful. I've been doing a reach out to them every 3 months and getting a little update from them to see how they're doing. Some of them, unfortunately, had a delayed start because of COVID. And so I've noted that. But yeah, we could definitely talk about it in the workforce committee.
Thank you.
Chelsea, if you can take us back. There we go. Thank you so much. So as you can see below that top horizontal line are 4 lines that relate to practice transformation, one for cohort 1, 2, and 3, and then one for the Washington Rural Health Collaborative. At this morning's meeting, Laurel talked about the activities that are occurring in January and February. And Sam, I'm wondering if you might want to speak to those areas if you feel comfortable doing that, or we can go back to Laurel and she can just repeat that.
I've got it. Thank you.
Okay.
So we are currently ending our reporting period for cohort 1, year 2, quarter 4, cohort 2, year 2, quarter 2, and then cohort 3, year 1, quarter 4. Now there's a 2 months difference between each one of those cohorts. And then currently we just sent out contracts in December. And I think that we have received, if not most of them back, all of them back. Is that right, Carol?
We're just missing 2.
Just missing 2. So that's been really good to get most of those back. So if we can get those other 2, just a reminder that we want to be able to start continuing and getting those fundings out for the next reporting periods. So those contracts that just went out was for cohort 1 for year 3, and then for cohort 3, year 2. And then the only other deliverable we have immediately coming up is the budgets, which is actually due on February 15th. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Martine, if you can speak to the Washington Rural Health Collaborative.
Excuse me, just if you would, can you just give me a quick Cliff's Notes version of practice transformation and what that involves?
Yes, so going back to that Greater Columbia Cares model, we have different initiatives that we actually are traditionally until COVID, boots on the ground, and the practice navigators go into these clinics and they set up different processes of looking at understanding who their patient population is, understanding who their high-risk patients are, implementing evidence-based practices like medication management, looking at self-management support, decision aids, implementing different processes that are specific to their organization that helps them capture what patients are at highest risk to give them better quality of care and better outcomes.
And Sam, isn't one of the basic principles is integration of behavioral health?
Exactly. And it really evolves around the 4 project areas for the Greater Columbia, which is transitional care, the opioid crisis, integration of behavioral health, and then chronic disease management.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's a complicated model. We could spend some time after the call, sir, and we could talk more about the model if you'd like more information.
Well, that's. I think that's good for now. Right after this meeting, I've got to jump right into another meeting. But
anytime you're interested.
Okay, thank you, Wes. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Martine?
Yeah, so I'll be talking about the Rural Health Collaborative or the Collaborative. So we are contracted with them. Our contract expires at the end of July of this year. For the work that we're doing for them, they contracted us to work with some of the members that are part of the collaborative. We started with quite a few sites, but slowly, because of COVID, we started last year around, I want to say, I think it's been almost a year that we've been kind of, in the talks of doing this work. But, as COVID started, picking up and we saw the spikes go down, go up, just some sites were just saying, hey, this is just too much that, we're not going to be able to focus as much as we want or have the resources available. So some of them did drop out. Carol mentioned that earlier. But for the ones that we're still working with, they are implementing part of the Greater Columbia Cares model as part of the work that they're doing within their sites. The only difference for them is that they only have 3 measures that they have to be looking at, which are A1Cs for diabetics, hypertension, uncontrolled hypertension, and depression. So those are the 3 measures that this group from the collaborative is focusing on. And because of COVID, originally it was going to be focusing on all 3, but because of COVID and resources and manpower, the collaborative decided, let's give them some flexibility. We want them to do the work, but if they can do all of the work, let's, have them focus on 1, 2, or all 3 of the measures. So there are sites that are focusing on all 3 of the measures. There's some that are just focusing on 1 because that's all they can handle. Here on the Washington Rural Health Collaborative timeline that Wes has, here you guys see year 1 Q2 deliverable. That's actually been pushed back. So this is actually their year 1 quarter 1 deliverables that they are actually working on right now in reporting. And there's been some setbacks as well because of COVID and vaccinations on this. So we're giving them some few days to finish the reporting for that. So the dates on here, you guys will see instead of Q2, it'll be Q1, Q2, Q3, and then they're in the same reporting cadence every 3 months as the other cohorts 1, 2, and 3 are reporting. They're in the same cadence as for reporting for them. So here, after they're done reporting for the last quarter of 2020, by April 15th, they'll be reporting year 1, quarter 2 of 2021, which is, that second little diamond you guys see there. And as we work, we'll see where this takes us. There's some possibility of a year 2 contracting with the collaborative, but that's still, that's more to come on that.
So I think we're going to rush through these next sections pretty quickly. I'm getting a note here that we're limited on time. We have a community paramedicine timeline listed out here, although that particular cohort is still under development in terms of who might be participating, what the process might look like, and what the expected outcomes are going to be. We have money budgeted for that and an expected start date mid-year, but more is to come on that. Diane, can you real quickly go through those next three areas, the ORNs, COPCOM care, and community health worker?
Sure, no problem. So for the opioid resource networks, we have two opioid resource networks that are continuing on. Whitman is in their second year, and Benton Franklin Walla Walla is in their second year. They only have a half of a year left, and then they will be done with their second year. As for the COPCOM care, we just talked about, it's a 3-month campaign, and it will go through the end of April. Hopefully we'll be able to extend it for 3 months. I'm really pushing on trying to get enough funding to be able to do that. And then for the community health worker internship program, you guys are going to see the policy and the application here today, and then we're going to work on getting that completed, and then you can see the timeline there. We are hoping to have this implemented in June, and so that they'll be able to hire and have their community health workers start in July, and it would go for an 18-month period. And I think that's everything on mine. Oh, the behavioral health health internship program is that last one, and that is going to be done in June. That's when the final report is due for those providers that we contracted with.
Diane, thank you. Lauren, can you speak briefly to remaining COVID-19 marketing activities as well as to some of the LIN activities?
Yep, so as of now, all we are working on in 2021 in regards to COVID-19 is the Yakima Masking Communications campaign, which is live right now, ending February 2021. However, I'm sure we will add more efforts towards COVID-19 as the year progresses. And then in terms of LINs, or our local health improvement networks, this timeline really just shows our deliverables for 2021. So we have our deliverables for our 6 local health improvement networks, and then we have the Yakima Nation on here as well. And it also shows that we are aiming to have all 2021 LIN contracts signed by February 2021. So next month.
Thank you. And finally, Chelsea, do you want to talk a bit about the business plan timeline?
Sure. I'll just briefly touch on this. So as you see, we have a couple different milestones. The first one, we started our phase 1 rapid assessment and SWOT analysis. We had our kickoff with HMA earlier this month, and so they're doing a deep dive into all the work we've done. We actually introduced Liz Argent from HMA at our leadership council earlier today and notified our stakeholders and some of our board as of right now. I'm sure this is the first time you're hearing that Liz will probably be in touch to conduct some interviews, possibly get some information gathering to help validate and vet our core competencies that we've identified earlier this year. As you see, there will be a phase 2 for collaborative business plan development which is in, let me go back up, around March. So we'll have our first deliverable presented to the board, should be in the month of March, with the goal of having this business plan completed and presented to you by June.
Can you scroll down, please?
I'm at the complete bottom. I'm at the bottom of the document.
Oh, I'm not seeing the bottom on the screen. In any case, thank you everybody for discussing each of these project areas. So this encapsulates the majority of work that's being undertaken by the organization for the first 11 months of this year. This is a document that we hope to return to let you know what's been completed and what might be delayed. Does anybody have any questions regarding this?
I do not. I think it'll take a little bit of study, but we can kind of loop back if you need. I think it looks good. I think that the targets are good, but there's a lot of targets, so you're probably going to see those things move around a little bit, and that's fine. So I don't have any major.
My comment is you said you're going to have contracts by February. Well, that's next week or almost, if you're going to do it by February. Sounds more like you're going to get them in February. Is that what you meant? Or are you actually getting them next week?
Yes.
They've already been out.
Oh, cool.
They've been out since December, Les, but thank you for that.
Yeah, all right.
Very good. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Wes. All right, so we can move into the action section of our board meeting. How about that?
All right.
Action items to go through. So the first one are the December 2020 financial statements.
Do we still have a quorum?
Did people drop off? Do we know if people dropped off?
I'm here.
Okay, it's good enough for me, man. That means I don't have to do them.
What else matters, huh?
We do still have a quorum.
See, starting to figure out how this works. That's good. All right, let's do the financial statements. Carol, Sulamita, and Julie. Thank you.
So we have run through these financial statements with the finance committee. I know we're a little pressed for time, but Julie, which financial statement did you want the board to look at? All of them, or the statement of activity? Or
Why don't you just look at it was a very routine month. Let's just take a quick look at the balance sheet for, and have a look at that. But there was just really no extraordinary activity in the month at all. So.
Right.
So I'd look at the balance sheet.
Chelsea, are you going to bring that up? Statement of financial condition. There you go.
There you go. All right. So Sulamita, you want to
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Thank you.
So basically, our statement of financial position, and you heard this from CLA, we've got money in our checking account and money market account, 5.5 really in the bank. We have funding in, we have some money owed to us through accounts receivable. Majority of that is through the contract that we had with Ben Franklin Health District for the COVID site marketing. As CLA mentioned too, we ended the year with $28.1 million in the financial executive portal and some prepaids of about 12,800. So total current assets around 33.8 million. Our depreciation and fixed assets and office equipment fixed assets and website fixed assets. So total assets are worth about 33.8 million. We do have some accounts payable too that we owe about $45,000 worth, a little bit of money owing on our Numerica Visa card. Portal payments, this is calculated at the end of the year of the funding that we'll probably be paying out the first quarter of this year. This is for anticipated earned incentives, about 3.9 million. The payroll liabilities are, because they're calculated at different times of the month, there's some that are negative, some that are positive. You can keep scrolling down, Chelsea. Keep going. So, some payroll liabilities then of about $4,182. Keep going. So total current liabilities together with those portal payments is about 4 million. Deferred revenues, again, coming back to some of those revenues that will be counted along with the portal payments, 5.1 million, long-term liabilities at 9.2 million. I think you need to scroll down a little bit further. Assets, and so the total equity and liabilities match our assets at about $33.8 million.
Good, thank you. Okay, so the finance committee, I recall we looked at these things and we approved them for a recommendation to the board. Is that correct?
Yes. I would recommend these to the board for approval.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we need a motion and a second.
This is Madeline. I will second.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So it's been moved by Julie on behalf of the Finance Committee, seconded by Madeline for approval of the December 2020 financial statements. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Julie. It was an, as I recall, an inspired financial report.
I live to inspire. Thank you.
I knew it. Okay, so Carol, next thing up. Thanks again, Julie. Next thing up is an SBAR for Cambia donation. Would you like to speak to that?
Sure. So around November of 2020, all of the ACH leaders were contacted by Cambia Health Solutions to announce that they were going to dedicate some of their millions of dollars that they got from a fund settlement from the Affordable Care Act, and they were donating that across 4 states. They determined that out of that 11.8 million, they were going to donate 1.8 million of its settlement to Accountable Communities of Health in Washington State. They did make that formal announcement on January 6th. The ACHs are working together to make a joint statement, which hasn't come out yet. Cambia asked us to wait a bit and hold off on our press releases. However, they did request that we identify a project that we could use those funds for, really to address the mental health and well-being of people and families in rural communities impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And also in your packet, Chelsea included the actual more background information on the Cambia grant. They go on to say that some of the other programs that could be supported would be 24/7 support to people in crisis or emotional distress, to expand the capacity of established safety net programs to meet current and emerging needs, and to support work to reduce the stigma and discriminating barriers that prevent individuals from seeking services. So there's a quote from Peggy McGuire, the Vice President of Cambia Health Solutions, that she wrote to us that just said, Greater Columbia or Cambia Health Solutions is pleased to support Greater Columbia ACH in its efforts to meet the urgent mental and behavioral health needs intensified by COVID-19. The pandemic has given rise to the need for additional mental health services across our communities and highlighted gaps in support and resources for people and families living in rural areas. We were very excited to receive this news, and so staff got together and felt, as Diane has already expressed, that we are a pretty small staff, but we have this great campaign called the Cope Calm Cares Community Resilience Campaign in our hip pocket. We felt like if we could donate those funds to expand and extend the reach of that campaign, that would be a really good use of these funds. Having those additional funds then will allow us some additional funding for the printed materials that Nicole talked about earlier today, and to perhaps extend more media into some of these smaller markets. We've also talked about Train the Trainer program, and then stipends to the schools, possibly that offer the training in their schools. So the budget below that we have prepared for this is just a little bit different than what you received in your packets. It's been updated. Nicole did mention that we received $68,000, or we didn't. Field Group received $68,000 to develop the materials that we saw today that Nicole presented. The Cambia grant would add an additional $245,000, and then the board of directors has already authorized that $500,000 from GSREP for the Cope Calm Cares campaign. And then a breakdown of the expenses that could be attributed against the campaign. You see here, Dr. Karen Mostath is offering the training services, the logo, campaign concept. Some of that has already been covered by Field Group. But I guess what we are requesting is that line item for Catholic Charities Education and Training, the training contracts with providers, perhaps a school stipend, and then add more to the funding for the toolkit and printed materials. So that would increase the total amount for this campaign to $813,000 if the board of directors were to authorize this increase in funding based on the $245,000 grant. So our recommendation then is that the board of directors authorize Greater Columbia ACH to utilize that $245,000 Cambia grant to enhance and extend the COPE Calm Care Community Resilience Campaign.
That sounds reasonable to me. You've got somebody offering to give you money to expand an existing program. Okay, that seems like not a hard thing to approve. So I would be happy to make that motion, or have somebody else make that motion so I can ask for a second.
I'll make the motion.
I would second that.
Excellent. So the motion was made by whom?
Ronnie.
Ronnie, thank you very much. And the second?
Ladon.
Ladon, excellent. So we've got a motion by Ronnie and a second by Ladon to go ahead and authorize the staff to utilize that $245,000 Cambia grant to enhance and extend the COPE Calm Care Community Resilience Campaign that is currently underway. Do we have any questions to visit with here? I think that was an excellent SBAR. Thank you. Okay, hearing no questions, it's time for I'll call the question. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? So this motion is unanimous. Congratulations, Carol. Please feel free to get after it with that foundation. Very good.
Yay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This will extend it so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it's really good. Thank you very much. Next item up for discussion is Diane, discussion of approval of the C3 campaign. Would you like to?
So as you guys have seen, our campaign and the way that it's going to be distributed, we wanted to get an approval from the board as to whether or not we can proceed with the campaign and launch it.
Is that the COPE?
COPE Calm Care. We've been calling it the 3C campaign just because it's easier than COPE Calm Care all the time.
Okay, so we need to approve that and in an effort to expand that campaign?
Yeah. No, basically is to be able to launch it. Are we okay to go forward with it? Are we going in the right direction that the board, when we presented this at the beginning of the year, and we just want to make sure that it's okay to launch it, and if we're okay to run with it. That's basically what we want to know.
This is Dan, and I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation by Diane to go forth and deliver.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
I'll second that. They've been waiting for a long time to get this out. So roll it out, girl.
Okay, so the motion's made by Dan and the second is made by Ronnie. That we go ahead and approve the deployment of the
COPE
Calm Care campaign through the Greater Columbia ACH. So any additional conversation on this topic? Very good, thank you. So all in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
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 Excellent. Any nays? Hearing none, this approval of the C3 campaign motion passes unanimously. So congratulations. Thank you very much. That's you guys have obviously been working on this a long time and gotten a long way with it. So the next one, 2021 LHIN contracts with Lauren.
Yes, so this is now the second reading of the 2021 Local Health Improvement Network contract. We reviewed all of our changes during our December board meeting. So we are bringing it forth to the board today for final approval so we can send this out to the LHIN leaders. As we shared in our work plan, we are aiming to have all of these contracts signed by February 1st. Now all of the LHIN leaders have seen this contract. We've reviewed it with all of them. They know of all the changes in this 2021 contract. So all that is needed is an approval so that we can send this out and get these executed hopefully by February 1st.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we'll need a motion to accept the Lynn contract as written as well.
This is Sandra. I'll move to approve the contract as written.
Thank you, Sandra. Second.
This is Ronnie. I'll
This
second
is
that.
Madeline. I will second.
Ronnie and Madeline are fighting over these seconds. So, so it's been moved by Sandra, seconded by Madeline. I'm going with Madeline.
Yeah, I'll concede to that.
Okay, that we go ahead and approve the Lynn contract for 2021. Any additional questions? Very good. Thank you very much. So hearing none, let's ask the question. All in favor of approval of the Lynn contract for 2021, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Good. Any opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries unanimously as well. Congratulations. Thank you, Lauren. And we'll go ahead and get those contracts out. So then next item up here is the first reading of the CHW program policy and application through Diane, Carol, and Wes. Would you like to?
Actually, Brian, I'm going to take us back to the PTW nomination. This was an addition to your agenda, so
okay.
you might not have it if you're looking at an old agenda. So as the board,
It's on my screen. Thank you very much.
as
Sorry.
the board knows, one of the very important work groups that we have for practice transformation is called the Practice Transformation Work Group. They have their own charter. They meet quarterly. They're the only paid, their organizations are paid for representation on this work group. With the retirement of Barbara Mead, Barbara is recommending and nominating Melda Velasquez from Lord's Health to replace her on the Practice Transformation Work Group. You can read her biography. She's been at Lourdes since April 2017, and she's currently serving as the Director of Clinic Operations for the clinic sites. This is very valuable as a clinician to get feedback on our processes and milestones that comprise our revenue sharing model. So we're excited to have Melda's nomination. She comes very well qualified with a bachelor's degree in health services administration and a master's degree in health administration from the University of Washington. So we are recommending Melda being confirmed on the Practice Transformation Work Group.
Very good. Thank you very much. This is an action item of the board as well?
Yes.
Okay. So what we need here is a motion and a second to bring to advance this nomination of Melda Velasquez.
This is Sandra. I'll move to approve Melda.
Thank you, Sandra. Do we have
And
a
this is
second?
Dan. I'll second that.
Excellent. So you got a motion by Sandra and a second by Dan to bring Melda Velasquez on to the Director of Clinic Operations at Lourdes Health and to the Practice Transformation Work Group. Do we have any additional comments?
I think that I have to step back from this one. I don't think that I can vote on this.
All right, that's fine. We will make a note in the minutes. So thank you, Ronnie. So all in favor of bringing Melda on, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed?
Sorry, I was muted. I can do this, so hopefully it's okay.
Sounds like we got some opposition. No. So let's do that again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Do we have any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously too. Thank you very much. We'll look
Thank you,
forward to
everybody.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing Melda on the next one. Okay. Carol, CHW.
Right. So I'm going to let Dan, as our chairman of our workforce committee, take us through the policy and the application that has been through the Workforce Committee just one time, and we had some last minute additions by the Department of Health.
Okay, thanks.
Did I know that you were going to ask me to do this, Carol?
Yes, you said you would be happy to do this.
I second her.
It's a COVID thing, you know?
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go through. So we did review this before, and we've had some significant contribution and feedback from a variety of organizations. The ACH staff have done a great job of inviting stakeholders to the conversation at our Workforce Committee. And I've actually taken the liberty as the chair of the Workforce Committee to do some special invitations as well. So we've had quite a bit of feedback from both the Department of Health, the Healthcare Authority, and other organizations. I don't know if Carol, you want to highlight those individuals or not. But this is really, we spent a lot of time talking a lot about the importance of getting this training program and internship program out into the community with our stakeholder organizations. We're really interested as a Workforce Committee in making sure there's a lot of alignment between our where these interns are going to be hosted, and so we're thinking ahead a lot about training and supervision and really kind of creating a kind of awareness around the value proposition, particularly the cultural proposition or the cultural value for having community health workers in organizations. I actually have another comment, an additional comment that I, based on some conversations I had with some stakeholders from the state, from the Department of Health and the Healthcare Authority, about some additional items that we might want to consider. I don't know what else you want me to highlight here, Carol.
I think that most of this information the board saw the last time, Dan. We might just review the comments that are in red that came directly from the Department of Health. I would have to say I really appreciated you reaching out to some of those stakeholders. I thought we got some great feedback from people that are already in the trenches. Additionally, we reached out to the Eastern Washington community health worker person, the coordinator for that, who's out of Spokane, Kim Krieber. So I think what we're trying to do is just align all of these policies across the state with a training policy, because this is something new in terms of offering internships. I think Suzanne Swadner was a little critical that it seemed to be a little bit provider or primary care based as opposed to out in the community. But I think the philosophy of the Workforce Committee has been that we would like for these positions to be sustained after the funding from Greater Columbia goes away. And by having a community health worker as part of that care team, we're hoping that it provides that level of value. So provider organizations do see their immense value to added care. Dr. Martin mentioned this morning, so how do we create that linkage between social determinants of health and medical care? This is an excellent way to bring that those social determinants to bear for the patients that go to those provider organizations. Go ahead.
So two areas that I just want to highlight here is what you referred to, Carol, in terms of what I think this phrase gets overused, maybe a little bit too much, but the value proposition in a value-based payment system model. I think we really want to pay attention to that. And potentially our Workforce Committee may want to think about having additional conversations with our MCO partners around kind of helping to kind of co-create that value proposition, because that seems to be a lot of the challenge just across the state. and this is actually some feedback that I received from some of the statewide stakeholders or influencers, that we really want to be able to align what are the MCOs really able to do in terms of thinking about the value of community health workers in organizations? And is there a way for us to help inform their thinking? And can we do some research about this? You know, that kind of thing. I think the other piece of that is with those conversations I've had with some of the statewide influencers, they were kind of curious about how come Greater Columbia ACH is able to be so innovative. And I think it's one, because we're rural. I mean, and that we're not necessarily tied to a specific model of care. As described earlier, we were, you know, the Greater Columbia ACH CARES model is really kind of inclusive of multiple models that are really good practice, but it allows a lot of flexibility and innovation. And I think that is something that we may want to highlight in some of our communications.
That's good.
So, is that enough said?
I think it's good.
Sounds good.
Okay. I actually like, I mean, I don't want to say I'm surprised. I do like this. And I think that the work group making the comment that it needs to be sustainable on a go forward is absolutely correct. And it is frankly a little bit annoying that the state might have a argument along those lines that it's not in, you know, that it's in primary care, which provides that, that's the word I'm looking for. Go forward. Sustainability, yes. So yeah, I think that sounds, this is very, very good. And obviously a great deal of work has gone into it. We've been talking about community health workers for a long time.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, that's good.
Here I am.
You got it down to paper. You got an internship training policy. I think that's great. So it looks like we are about to be off to the races.
So there's something that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I didn't bring it up a long time ago, and probably should have, because working with and around people that are community health workers, one of the things that came up this weekend this past weekend in a conversation I was having with a friend of mine in Spokane, she's what they call a community cultural broker, and she's a community health worker, but she's also one that helps people to come into those communities from outside, like nurses that are not of the culture, and bringing them in because they're part of that culture, and being able to do those introductions and helping people network within those communities. So that's something that I kind of want you guys to put in your heads, a community cultural broker.
Oh.
Just kind of keeping that in your minds.
It could be a trading that we bring her in and she can talk to them about it. So we're trying to put together different trainings that are going to be available, and that could be something that we could add to that.
Right.
That would be cool. All right. I just wanted to kind of bring that up because it's been out there. This weekend just brought it to my head. I was like, oh, wow, I should bring that up at our meeting.
Okay.
Chelsea, could you please scroll until you get to some of the Department of Health comments?
And I want to make one more comment about this, and that is, I've been involved with 3 different task forces by the state around community health workers, and one of the sticky points has been really making sure that organizations are ready to employ community health workers and kind of recognize the value not only to the organization, but to the community. And so we're going to be really relying on kind of the whole system of the Greater Columbia ACH to elevate the importance of this. So our practice transformation committee, our LINs, I can't overstate how important it's going to be to really think about this holistically and systemically across all 9 county areas.
Thanks, Dan. And we do want to work with Seth Doyle and the Northwest Primary Care Association to provide organizational training on how to assimilate a community health worker onto a care team.
Right.
So this is, so the requirements for applications or for the applicants wasn't changed a lot. I think where the DOH had some really good comments was the requirements for interns. So you can see how they changed. They were concerned about really the barriers that community health workers experience from the employment side. So they had some really great suggestions about how to present this information, this application, so that it wouldn't be a barrier right off the bat. And again, the workforce has not seen this copy because we just got these comments late in the game. So we're presenting them to the board kind of as the first go. So it was just mainly just some wordsmithing that they had suggested.
Okay.
And Carol, there may be some notes that are hidden here that are not showing in the PDF that might come up when we look at the original Word document.
We will take it to the workforce committee at the next meeting, which is at the end of the month. And then we will bring it back as an action item to the board.
In February, yes.
In February, yeah.
Right.
And then do you want to bring up the application real quickly? So the committee also reviewed the application for the first time. Again, this is based on the Behavioral Health Internship Fund. One of the questions, Dan, that you wanted us to ask was, why would an organization apply for these funds? We're really hoping that that's a filtering question, that by describing how they're going to utilize the community health worker, and I think that question's a little bit further down, Chelsea, that we see things like they add value to our care team, they reach people needing assistance with social needs. So some of those questions we're hoping are filtering and that will really kind of separate the wheat from the chaff.
Good.
Again, you know, a little bit more about how is the organization going to use the community health worker? Are they going to bring them onto the team? What opportunities do they have for bidirectional integration or interprofessional education? And then how are you going to choose the supervisor that will be overseeing the work of the community health worker? Their anticipated roles and responsibilities of the intern and the supervisor. And if they know what the location is and the duration of the internship. And what target population are you trying to address through this internship? I think that was a question that was added from the last meeting.
Okay.
So that's a little bit more about the CHW internship program.
Excellent. It's really good. Thank you guys very much. I think this thing is well on its way. I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you guys for working so hard on that. I know it's been really challenging, but I really appreciate you guys sticking to it and moving it forward.
Ronnie, everything that we see in healthcare legislation that's coming out in 2021 leads us to believe that there's going to be a great emphasis or more emphasis on community health workers. So we might be a little bit ahead of the curve, but hopefully there's more funding to sustain this program in the next few years.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Okay, so the next item we've got, thank you all. So the next item we've got on our agenda here is the regional masking campaign.
Yes, so Chelsea, if you could pull up that document when you have a chance. Perfect, thank you. So I know during our November meeting last year, we had talked about, you know, the possibility of maybe helping message some information about the vaccine. So we came to the board at our December meeting, and you had suggested going more the route of continuing masking communication efforts. So that being said, we just wanted to come back to the board with some numbers. We don't have an SBAR. We don't think we're to that point yet, but we wanted to just share with you some numbers from our past masking communications campaigns. So this table really just outlines, some of the metrics from the campaigns, the campaign dates, the audiences, COVID-19 rates at the start of the campaign versus the end of the campaign, the total cost for creation of the advertisements, and then the media placements and how much we spent for each campaign. So that being said, the Yakima Masking Communications campaign that took place September and October of last year was targeting the Spanish-speaking population. Of course, the COVID-19 cases rose during the campaign. The total cost for that campaign was just over $9,000. The Benton Franklin County Masking Communications campaign that took place earlier in the year last year, so July through August, that one was also targeting Spanish-speaking population. Again, that was a large spike in the COVID-19 cases at that time. The total cost for that campaign was $17,000, so a little bit more than the Yakima campaign. And now round two. So this one is not completed yet. However, all of the media placements have been made and purchased. So this one is targeting the English and Spanish speaking populations. So it started beginning of this month in January. It's supposed to end the first week in February. And then you can see, that we are expecting to spend just over $24,000. So for these three campaigns, we have spent over $50,000. So we just wanted to give the board an idea of what we've spent to date, what these numbers look like, just as an overview. And Carol, I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to add to this.
You did a great job, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So that being said, maybe we could have a discussion on, maybe what the campaign could look like in the future if it were to spread across our 9-county region. Do we want to have a third round in Yakima? Do we instead want to focus that funding on other areas in our region, since we've already ran 2 campaigns in that area? Benton Franklin, we've already ran a campaign in those 2 counties. So do we want to run a second round, or maybe just getting some feedback on the board, from the board, some more direction, and then hopefully next month we can put together an SBAR.
I would like to ask a couple of questions about this last campaign. Well, I guess it's any of the campaigns, but what's the cost per television ad, and what's the cost per radio spot?
That's a great question. And I could definitely pull up, we have all that information. I can definitely pull that up. But I would say it varies. It depends on, and I see Carol looking, she might be able to pull it up quicker than me. But it varies. It varies on how many spots you're purchasing. It varies when you want that spot to be aired. So it definitely varies. And I will take a look at our spreadsheet and see if I can pull up a range for you.
Okay. The other thing that maybe, and again, maybe there's some modification in the message given today. We're dealing with vaccines versus, 2-3 months ago, we were not.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe we incorporate a vaccination drive or conversation in the masking campaign. I don't know how that we do that, but maybe there's a way that we can incorporate the two and get a little bit, I don't think those are mixed messages. I think they're the same message.
So I just shared from the National Network of Public Health Institutes.
Yeah.
I just shared from, it's from the De Beaumont Foundation, information about how to best message vaccine, or, encouraging people to take vaccines.
Oh, good.
Look at that. I gave it to Chelsea earlier in the meeting.
It's awesome.
So,
good.
so I think that there's a very strong need for some clear understanding of what's going on and how it's happening. And the problem is nobody knows what's, I'm sorry, but it's changes so frequently. But people need to understand the basic idea. First off, vaccine will be available when it's available. So you may hear about people getting vaccinated and think, oh no, and there's all these stories about how vaccines are being wasted. Vaccines aren't being wasted.
No.
People are being very efficient with these things. It might be that someone got vaccinated a little bit early because they were available when that needed to be used. But there's the systems, although it's both kind of complicated, it's functioning. It's just that when we get to this next groups where it gets to be a lot more people, we're going to have to figure out how to communicate with people and how to get them to the right places at the right time and not make them stand in line with 30,000 other people. I'm sorry,
Right.
that's a little exaggeration, but that's part of it. So people don't have so they can look forward to it, but not get frustrated because, well, you told me it was going to be there, and that kind of thing. And then the second part is vaccination is a piece of our mitigating strategy. It's one piece. We still need to keep our masks on and still need to keep our social distancing. And we'll know better about when we can start backing off on our 6 feet, maybe after our communities are much more, I was going to say secure, but that's not the right word. After our community spread is knocked way down.
Right.
Once we have some of this stuff, we get enough going on with vaccinations, and we have an understanding, we can talk about those other things, but getting vaccinated is not your license to quit.
No, I agree.
You want. I think we need to be really clear on those. Those are the kinds of messages I think the public needs to hear.
Yeah, I agree.
The other thing is if I didn't get my vaccine today, it's still good because somebody got that vaccine, and somebody else getting that vaccine is still going to help my community.
Right. So one of the things I was on a call Sunday with all of the hospital CEOs and the governor, and that was a lot of fun. Governor is pushing a 45,000 vaccinations per day statewide. Challenge, of course, with that is we haven't opened up the floodgates, though we kind of did, and I don't know that we have that many vaccines. So there's a lot there, Les, you're right.
And Biden just rolled out the vaccine push today. So he's going to storm it, so I think that as long as there's vaccines and we've got them in our area, they'll be utilized, and hopefully more so soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I guess I would mention that, listening to our local health district, one of the things that we're having a concern of in Yakima County is that our local health district doesn't necessarily know who's getting the vaccines and when. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between the state and the county health districts. And then I've put a plug in to see if we can correct that, because we really need that coordination on the local level. That's one concern. But then as far as the messaging, the vaccine, the idea of helping people get relaxed about the vaccine if they have concerns is one thing. And I guess the other thing I'd ask about is on the masking campaign, is it just masking, or is it masking and sanitation and distancing campaign?
I think it's all of it.
It was, it's a little bit of everything. We kind of gave people the reins of which we were interviewing to decide, and explain why they're wearing their mask. It could be to, protect their communities, protect families, because other people don't. We kind of let people take the reins on that. And to answer your question, I put it in the chat box as well. But I just pulled up one of our proposals from Univision and Yakima, and the prices range from $15 per spot to $60 per spot, and that's for a 30-second television ad.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that. That's a little
Yeah.
better than I thought, actually. Yeah.
And I want to say that, Greater Columbia has reached out to our local health district here. Brian, you're right. I think part of the issue is that the LHJs don't know who is going to have the vaccine at what. And so there's a little reluctance to get ahead of the game and create all of this expectation that, oh, we have all of these vaccines available in our community when we actually don't. So
Right.
They are actually working more closely with the Tri-Cities Visitor and Convention Bureau to help message that campaign, but the Greater Columbia has extended their support in helping message if they would like for us to step into that. I think that the LHJs are just all really concerned that we're going to get ahead of them with the marketing of the vaccine and not being able to meet those expectations.
Well, I can tell you will. I mean, you're gonna. We here at the hospital, at both of the Astrea hospitals, we've been deploying vaccine to the 1A group for a couple of weeks. We opened the 1B on Monday. We only had 100 vaccines left, 100 doses left, and they were gone by, and they go, and we schedule them because you have to deal with the social distancing piece. So you can't have a free for all, and you can't have that 3,500 people lined up. And so we had used our stuff up by, Monday afternoon. So I've been leaning on I think I was in a mood yesterday. I don't know. So I decided it would be a good day to light up the Secretary of Health. And I don't know, maybe that was a good idea. Maybe it wasn't a good idea, but she knows my name now. So that's good.
That's a good thing, I'm telling you, because
might have
sometimes
said
we got to light the fires.
I might have said something about it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for the people looking for their healthcare services to call the hospital and get directed over to Safeway. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
good way to market yourself, Brian, one way or another. That's great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they know me now.
So I wanted to point something out here. First of all, Dan, thank you for sending this piece, the link to this piece.
Good.
This was pulled together by pollster Frank Luntz. And you may not know that name, but in political circles, he is a really heavy hitter in terms of understanding how to extract from individuals terminology and terms that can affect people either positively or negatively, and that's translated into campaign ads. So that tells me that this could potentially be useful. In terms of the vaccination sites, there's a lot of stuff going on. The state is now going to they're trying to mobilize 4 very large vaccination sites across the state. One of them is going to be at the Benton Franklin County Fairgrounds, and I imagine there'll probably be one in Yakima as well. So, linking into those makes a lot of sense with all the experience that we've had. I gave this fact earlier that the marketing we did for the test site that was stood up at CBC Columbia Basin College, the other test site in Pasco actually moved to Kennewick. And over a 2-week period, that test site in Kennewick only did about 800 tests, whereas the one at CBC did 8,700. And we believe that the big difference, and that was actually reported by the Tri-City Herald, a big difference in that volume was because the effectiveness of the marketing campaign that we pulled together. And Lauren has just done and Carol have just done a tremendous job in getting out very clear, concise messaging, putting in local figureheads that resonate with the community. And, if we can find opportunities to partner with the LHJs to pull that forward, I think we could be equally successful.
Yeah, I'm sure that I am sure that you're right, that that's what drove that. No question. No question.
The other thing is that the LHJs are not the ones that have the vaccine. This is a kind of a strange kind of vaccination distribution design that it'll go to anybody that has applied for and gets qualified to be able to deliver this thing. And they all agree that they're going to follow this the 1A, 1B thing. But how does Safeway figure out where I belong and when I need to and how? There's a lot of those things that aren't really clear because there's a real decentralization at the local level. I know that Monday, St. Mary's here in Walla Walla had to, that they changed, so you couldn't keep any vaccine, or you wouldn't get your next shipment. So they basically announced that they're going to have a drive-in vaccination thing in College Place. They did about 1,000 vaccines, and it was you just plugged people through, but hundreds of people are very upset that they didn't get their vaccine and they didn't know about it. And so where on one hand, where they did something so that we could keep moving forward, it caused, they've been swamped with people calling and complaining.
Yeah, that's what's
in
happening.
all my meetings this week.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening with us. And then you can't get any more.
And then you don't get, and it's just this. So
it's really
we're really trying to figure out how to let people know that, yeah, you need to be patient, and there may be some left over sometime that you might be able to get in on, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get it next week or the week after, as it comes in. We will get to everybody. There's just some logistics about this that are hard.
Yeah, I think part of the confusion, though, is the governor jumped into this past weekend with this dictate that every dose that you have on hand be administered by 1/24, by Sunday of this week. And neglected to say, oh, except for second doses.
Right.
So a bunch of hospitals went away and put second doses in arms, and now have no idea whether the second doses that were already scheduled that we were told to administer are going to be coming in at all.
Right.
So a very ham-handed, just sort of shout out that put these vaccines randomly, chaotically in arms, even though we had every single dose scheduled for a patient. They said, nope, it's got to be done by Sunday. So not the most thoughtful process I think we've ever seen. So.
Yeah, we're a little bit afield of what we were talking about earlier. I think the initial question was, do we want to do another regional masking campaign? And I probably took us off topic. Maybe we incorporate the other piece in. It may be a little bit early for that. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Well, I think the regional masking needs to include the message that even those who have been vaccinated need to continue to mask and social distance and all of that. And we need to drive that message home.
Okay, I agree with you. Can we modify that message a little bit to drive that? I like that, Julie. I think that's exactly right. You guys, everybody kind of concur with that? And then you want to throw another campaign out? Let's do that.
A nice way to say it very concisely after I talked for 5 minutes. Thank you, Julie.
Well, and I think we need to reiterate what Les said about the timeline. So we're still not going to be ready until probably midsummer, to breathe any kind of sigh of relief, except for
I'm hesitant to say when,
course.
Dan.
What's that?
Because I'm hesitant to say when, because we've had all these, by this time, and then that time passes and things are getting worse. I would say when we know, we will know, and just don't put an end on it.
Yeah,
and if it happens sooner, then we can say, yay. If it happens later, we can say, yeah, we're in this together.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, but
that's the wisest information I've heard.
Yeah.
And I had my vaccine too, and I was talking with my pharmacist around that still wearing masks and stuff, because I told him, I said, I'm still going to be wearing my masks. And he's like, that's the wisest thing that you can do, because you don't know for sure, and it's best to be safe than sorry. And there was a woman standing behind me, and she said that she had gotten hers, and she says, I'm glad I don't have to wear my mask now. But when she heard me and him talking, she was like, switch that, because that's what preempted that conversation.
Yeah, briefly, being vaccinated might make you infection free, but it doesn't necessarily make you infectious free. So you can still harbor the virus, not get sick, but transmit it to others. So the mask protects others as well.
Okay. Well,
we'll bring something back next month,
yeah,
Mr.
I was gonna say,
President.
let's fashion some words and bring it back and then get ready to put something else out.
Okay.
Okay, I really appreciate it. So you guys, I've got 4 minutes. So let's give everybody 4 minutes back of their day.
I just want to say, as
Oh.
you know, I sent the board a note yesterday. We have to say goodbye to Lauren. I don't want to have to go through my little speech that I gave again this morning, but we are really going to miss her. She's just been an integral part of the GCACH team. We hope that she stays connected with us, and she's promised to stock our websites to make sure that we're staying on track with all of our campaigns. But Lauren, I didn't know if you wanted to have an opportunity to say anything to the board.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. It's very sad. It was a really hard decision to make. My family has been begging me for probably 6 years now to come back to the family business. With my parents getting ready to retire, it's time to kind of go back to home base. I'll still be in Tri-Cities. I'll be working remotely. As I told Carol and promised, I will be stalking the Greater Columbia ACH website and Facebook page to stay in tune with everything that all the great work you guys are doing. But thank you so much to the board for all of your dedication over the last 3 years. It's been great to work with you all, and I hope to stay in touch.
Good. Well, I appreciate
Does this mean when we start meeting again, you're going to come for lunch?
You know, I might. If the invite's there, I will be there.
Well, it has certainly been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And I cannot believe it's been 3 years.
She's really been an integral part of our
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Or busy.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Goodbye.
Okay, you guys, let's call it. I really appreciate your time this afternoon. We will see you all next month. Carol, please don't hesitate to give me a call if you need anything, and we will wander our way through the next one.
Okay,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you.
Have a good
Bye.
afternoon. Bye.
Bye.